All right, let's dive straight into this, because I know a lot of people have been waiting for me to finally touch on the subject. The conversation around Josh Giddy and the possibility of him ending up with the Lakers has been heating up, and honestly, it's a topic that deserves a deeper look. Every time his name comes up, there are strong opinions on both sides. Some fans are convinced he could be a great fit, while others see him as redundant with the roster the Lakers already have. So let's break it down and really analyze what Giddy would bring, where he fits, and where the concerns come into play. The first thing that stands out about Josh Giddy is his playmaking. That's his bread and butter. He's the kind of player you want with the ball in his hands because he can create, he can see over defenses with his size, and he has that natural feel for setting up teammates. At 6'8", he's got incredible vision for a guy his age, and he's only 22, soon to be 23. The upside is obvious. But here's the challenge. How many ball-dominant playmakers do the Lakers really need? Right now, you've got Luka Doncic, you've got LeBron James, and you've got Austin Reeves. That's already 3 players who thrive when the ball is in their hands. Adding Giddy to that mix almost feels like you're giving yourself a puzzle with too many identical pieces. Now, it's not that Giddy can't play off the ball. He has shown improvement there. Last season, he took a big step forward in his three-point shooting, knocking down nearly 38% from deep, which is by far the best mark of his young career. If he can sustain that, it changes things dramatically because now you're talking about a 6'8" playmaker who can also space the floor and punish defenses when left open. That's a very valuable weapon. And defensively, he's not elite, but he's steady. His defensive ratings in Oklahoma City were never bad. In fact, his worst season defensively was still a mark that would have been one of the better numbers on the Lakers roster last year. That tells you he's not a liability on that end. He might lose focus or positioning at times, but overall he can guard multiple spots, which is always a plus. The question, though, is whether the Lakers can truly maximize him. Giddy shines when he's running the offense, dictating tempo, and making decisions. But in Los Angeles, where Luka is the primary orchestrator, then you have LeBron, and then Austin Reeves as that secondary initiator. Where exactly does Giddy fit in? Does he become the 4th option in terms of ball handling? If that's the case, then one of his greatest strengths, the very reason you want Josh Giddy on your roster, gets minimized. Sure, you can design sets where he's used in short bursts as a facilitator, maybe on the block to create inside-out action. But is that enough to justify giving up real assets to bring him in? If the Lakers were seriously considering trading Austin Reeves, then the calculus changes. Reeves brings scoring, creativity, and he steps up when either Luka or LeBron sits. He's shown he can carry more of the load when needed. Giddy could fill that void as well, especially with his size and rebounding ability, but the styles are different. Reeves is more of a scorer, while Giddy is more of a connector. If you flip Reeves for Giddy and also manage to land a true 3-and-D wing in the deal, now you're cooking with something interesting. Because then you're not losing playmaking altogether, but you're also addressing another area of need. Giddy's versatility allows you to plug him in at the 2, the 3, or even the 4 in a post-LeBron world. That flexibility is valuable. But again, money becomes part of the discussion. Giddy is reportedly looking for something in the $30 million per year range, and that's a big commitment for a guy who hasn't yet proven he can thrive as a complementary piece. If he was in the 18 to 20 million range, then it feels more like a worthwhile gamble. He's young, he's still improving, and at that number, even if it doesn't work perfectly, you could still flip him later on. At 30+ million, though, it's harder to justify unless you're absolutely sure he's going to fit like a glove alongside Luka and LeBron. Statistically, Giddy is solid. Last season, he averaged 15 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists per game. Those are numbers you love to see from a guy who isn't even in his prime yet. He's reliable, too. He's played at least 70 games in 3 of his 4 seasons, which is something you can't overlook in today's NBA, where availability often ends up being the biggest ability. His efficiency has trended upward as well, especially from deep, going from 26% as a rookie to 38% last season. That steady climb suggests his work ethic is real, and if that continues, you might see him develop into a respectable off-ball threat. The tricky part is imagining how he coexists with Luka. Luka is essentially a souped-up version of what Giddy does best. He dominates the ball, orchestrates everything, and bends defenses to his will. So do you really want another player who's best with the ball in his hands, when you already have arguably the best offensive engine in the game doing that every night? That's the redundancy problem. If Giddy was more of a knockdown shooter or a hyper-athlete who could slash and defend at an elite level, then you could justify him as a perfect complementary piece. But right now, he's more of a hybrid point forward who overlaps with what Luka already gives you. This is why names like Jonathan Kuminga or Cam Thomas sometimes make more sense in trade talks. Kuminga, for example, brings that athleticism, defensive versatility, and positional need that pairs well with Luka. Cam Thomas is a pure scorer who could provide the offensive punch off the bench the Lakers desperately need. Giddy, while talented, doesn't necessarily solve an immediate hole. He adds more of what you already have. And in team building, sometimes too much of the same thing can be a problem. Now, let's be clear, it's not that Giddy wouldn't help. He would. He gives you size, playmaking, rebounding, and he's continuing to evolve as a shooter. On nights when Luka rests, having Giddy run the show would keep the Lakers competitive. He's also young enough that you could imagine him growing into a bigger role down the line. But when you look at how this roster is constructed, it feels like the Lakers might get more bang for their buck targeting a player who brings something different to the table. Someone who can stretch the floor consistently or lock up the opposing team's best perimeter player. Let's talk about that redundancy again, because it's the core of the debate. Luka Doncic is the offensive engine. Everything runs through him. LeBron James, even at his age, still commands the ball and remains one of the smartest playmakers in the game. Austin Reeves has carved out a niche as the secondary creator who can step up when one of those two guys sits. That's 3 players already who thrive with the ball. Adding Giddy means you've now got 4 guys in that same mold. In theory, that sounds like a good problem to have. More playmakers, more creators, but in practice, it can get messy. Roles overlap, touches decrease, and suddenly you're asking one of those guys to adjust in a way that minimizes what makes him special. For Giddy, that adjustment would be shifting into more of an off-ball role. Now, he's shown he can shoot better from distance, and that 38% mark from 3 last year was encouraging. But that's on 4 attempts per game. Is it sustainable? Can he become a consistent threat from deep, the type of guy defenses have to respect and close out hard on? If so, he becomes far easier to fit next to Luka and LeBron. But if he regresses back to the low 30s, then your spacing suffers, and suddenly defenses are packing the paint again. That's where the concern lies. Defensively, Giddy brings versatility, but he's not a lockdown stopper. He's never had a terrible defensive season statistically, which is a good sign, but he's not the type of player you put on the opponent's best scorer and say, take him out of the game. He's more of a system defender, someone who can switch, use his length, and play multiple spots. That's valuable, especially with his size, but it doesn't directly solve the Lakers' biggest need, which is a true perimeter defender to take pressure off Luka and LeBron. So again, he helps, but not in the area of greatest need. Now, let's imagine a different scenario. Say the Lakers do move Austin Reeves. Maybe it's a trade where they flip him for a true 3-and-D wing, someone like a Herb Jones-type player. In that case, bringing in Giddy to replace the lost playmaking makes a lot of sense. You've got your wing defender, you've got size on the perimeter, and you still have a ball handler to keep the offense running when Luka rests. Giddy's versatility allows him to slide between the 2, 3, and 4 depending on matchups, which gives you more lineup flexibility. That's the kind of roster-building balance that could actually work. The contract question looms large, though. Giddy is reportedly seeking something north of $30 million per season. That's the type of money reserved for players you know fit seamlessly with your stars. Players who are plug-and-play, who elevate your team without any major adjustments. At $30+ million, Giddy feels like a gamble. If he was closer to 18 or 20 million, then it would be a low-risk, high-reward move. You could take the chance on his growth, see if he continues to develop his off-ball game, and if it doesn't work out, he's still young enough and affordable enough to be flipped for other assets. At the higher price tag, the margin for error gets much smaller. Let's dive into the numbers because they tell a story. Giddy's per-game averages of 15 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists are impressive for a player who often shared the floor with other high-usage guards in Oklahoma City. He's proven he can fill up the stat sheet and impact the game in multiple ways. He's durable, having played 70 or more games in 3 of his 4 seasons, and his efficiency has steadily climbed. He's improved his shooting percentages each year, from 26% from 3 as a rookie, to 32%, to 34%, and finally 38% last season. That's a clear upward trajectory, and it suggests his work ethic is legitimate. He's not complacent, he's getting better. But here's the thing. The Lakers already have a young guard in Austin Reeves who's proven to be incredibly effective when LeBron sits. Reeves puts up strong numbers in those stretches, and his game is better suited to complement Luka because he's more of a scorer. Giddy, by contrast, is more of a connector. So if you swap Reeves for Giddy, you're not necessarily upgrading, you're just reshuffling the deck. The only way that works is if the trade package also brings back another piece that addresses a need, like defense or shooting. Otherwise, you're just changing styles without actually solving problems. Think about it this way. If the Lakers didn't have Luka, Giddy would be a perfect target. He'd step right into that role as the offensive hub, orchestrating everything and growing into the face of the franchise. But with Luka in place, it's hard to see him being maximized. Luka is already the enhanced version of what Giddy does best. So unless the Lakers are willing to sacrifice touches from Luka or LeBron, Giddy's role becomes reduced. And reduced roles for young players on big contracts are never a recipe for success. This is why names like Jonathan Kuminga and Quentin Grimes come up so often in these conversations. Kuminga has the athleticism, the defensive upside, and the positional fit. He doesn't need the ball in his hands to impact the game, which makes him a cleaner fit next to Luka. Quentin Grimes offers shooting and defense, 2 things the Lakers desperately need. Giddy, while talented, overlaps with what you already have instead of filling the gaps. Still, it's not all downside. There are scenarios where Giddy could make sense. For example, if Luka misses games, having Giddy as a secondary engine could keep the team afloat. If LeBron eventually shifts into a smaller role as he gets older, Giddy could take on more responsibility and grow into that void. His size allows for creative lineups, and his ability to rebound from the guard spot is a huge asset. He's the kind of player who can flirt with triple-doubles on any given night, and that's not something you can ignore. The challenge is timing. Giddy might be a great piece for the Lakers in 2 or 3 years, once the roster evolves and LeBron's role diminishes. But right now, it feels premature. You'd be paying for a future fit while sacrificing assets in the present. And in the NBA, where windows of contention are short, you can't always afford to think too far ahead. Every move has to be about maximizing the now, especially when you've got Luka and LeBron together. So it circles back to cost and context. If the Lakers can get Giddy on a reasonable contract, or if they can acquire him without giving up a core piece like Reeves, then sure, it's worth the experiment. But if the price tag is too high, both in salary and in trade value, then the smarter play might be to pass and target players who fit more seamlessly alongside the stars already in place. Because as intriguing as Giddy is, the last thing you want is to pay premium dollars for redundancy. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, the basketball world is buzzing with one of the most unexpected headlines of the decade. Victor Wembanyama, the French prodigy widely regarded as the generational talent destined to reshape the NBA, has reportedly agreed to a 4-year deal with the Los Angeles Lakers. If confirmed, this signing could instantly transform the landscape of the league and spark a frenzy of speculation about the Lakers' future. Wembanyama, whose combination of height, agility, and skill has drawn comparisons to legends, was already under intense scrutiny from fans and analysts alike. Rumors of a potential landing spot in Los Angeles had swirled for weeks, but few anticipated that the Lakers, a franchise with a storied history and a hunger for resurgence, would secure him so decisively. Sources close to the situation suggest that the agreement is not just a standard contract. It is a strategic move by the Lakers to cement their status as a perennial contender, while also sending a bold message to rivals. The era of elite big men is back, and it starts in LA. Insiders indicate that the discussions were intense, with Wembanyama weighing multiple offers from teams across the country. The Lakers' pitch, reportedly including promises of a central role, an ambitious championship vision, and mentorship under seasoned veterans, appears to have tipped the scales. While official confirmation remains pending, the basketball community is already imagining the headlines. Lakers fans are ecstatic, competitors are reeling, and social media is alight with memes, debates, and speculation. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.